Hey guys, it's Alec coming back to you with another YouTube video. We're out here with my 2019 and my 2020 F-150. Today we're going to be talking about catch cans. If you've ever considered putting a catch can on your F-150, you have probably found the JLT, or now known as the J&L Oil Separator Company oil catch can. It's $170, and I think that's a little bit ridiculous considering I made this setup with factory ends for about $25. And today I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. Right next to me is my 2020 F-150. I actually bought this truck at auction, so if you're new here, go check out all the build videos on this thing. I can assure you that it did not look like this when I started with it, and I've turned it into a pretty cool unit so far. So also make sure you subscribe down below, because we are putting twin turbos on this thing this weekend. So we're going to have videos coming out with that, of course, racing it this summer and that kind of stuff. So make sure that you are subscribed, give this video a like, and let's get right into building these catch cans. Alrighty guys, so let's go over why you might want to put a catch can on your truck. And you can do some more research after this about the effectiveness and what they do. But if I have two trucks and both of them have catch cans on them, clearly I've done enough research that I believe that they are beneficial. So let's talk about some of the advantages. You will have a cleaner intake tract because of having a catch can, and specifically your intake valves are going to be cleaner. Now, why that's important is because most of the Fords after 2018 have port injection and direct injection, but some of the older Fords, specifically the 3.5 Ecoboost, has only direct injection. So there is no injector spraying on that intake valve to clean the carbon off of the surface. And when you have no spray, if all you're spraying at it is oil mist, it's going to carbon up and you're going to have awful drivability issues. Let's go over here to our second page and talk about why you get combustion gases into your crankcase. So we have our engine up here. This is my crappy illustration of a piston. The blue lines on the side are piston rings. You can see here that this is an example of a piston ring, and we have a gap between the two rings. Why do we have a gap between the two rings? An engine heats up, it needs to have play so that as things expand, the rings can come together, but they never touch. If they touch, the pressure from them touching becomes a burst, and that's how you bust a ringland and crack a piston. We're going to naturally get combustion to go past the piston rings. In this next illustration, you can see our combustion goes past the piston rings, it comes down near the crankshaft, and then through passageways, it gets back up to the valve cover. The crankcase ventilation system brings it over to the intake, and the engine ends up consuming its own crankcase ventilation. So these are some of the reasons that you would have a catch can. You are basically stopping the oil in the crankcase ventilation from going from the valve cover into the intake by condensing the oil vapors in the catch can.
Right now we are going to get into opening the box for the AN line kit, the material that we're going to use for the lines from the valve covers to the catch can, and then the catch can to the intake. So I ended up buying an Evil Energy 10AN 10-foot line kit off of Amazon, and this is E85 safe. You want to make sure that you pick out something that's E85 safe, just for the fact that almost all the fuel nowadays has E85 or an ethanol blend in it. If you have an Ecoboost truck, of course it's not a flex fuel vehicle from the factory, but if you ever end up tuning it on an ethanol blended fuel or anything like that, you're of course going to want to make sure that your line material is safe for that. So the other thing to remember when you're choosing a hose to go from your cans to your engine is that the 5-liter trucks pull a ton of vacuum when they're under acceleration, and so you want to make sure that you're not just using heater hose or anything that would collapse on itself under hard acceleration. So you got to make sure that it's at least rated for vacuum and that it's not just rated for pressure. Now let's take a look at the catch can that I ended up purchasing. If you go on Amazon and search up oil catch can, there's going to be a lot of results. Honestly, I just go in there and find the cheapest one that I can buy and I pick that. I've had some of the $20 ones, I've had some of the $30 ones, I've had some of the $50 ones. They're pretty much all the exact same thing. And so pick the cheapest one or pick the one that you like the design of the most, but they're pretty much all similar. Right here, I'm taking off the oil catch reservoir, and now I'm taking off the condensing media filter cartridge. And so this is actually located on the inlet of the catch can, and its purpose is to condense the oil vapors that are coming from the engine so that the air that's going to the intake is oil free. Now, I'm showing you right here that this is not a complex system. It uses steel wool inside of the condensing area, and this will need to be replaced about once a year or every 15,000 miles or so. You can see in the rest of the package it does come with all the fittings that you would need. It ranges from 3/8 to 5/8, and there is a 1/2 inch in the middle there, and it comes with some thread sealing tape so that your threads can seal because they are not pipe threads. There's also some O-rings in that kit. I do have some extra hose clamps, and then I have some electrical tape because when you cut the stainless braided lines, you want to make sure that there's electrical tape around where you're cutting. You can see my cutting shears right there, and that is to prevent fraying of the stainless braided line when you cut it. Right here I'm going to show you a little bit of video of me adding the steel wool to the condensing filter area. You can see that I am expanding the steel wool, and then I'm going to use my clippers to cut the steel wool. Now that I have the steel wool cut from the ball that they provide, I am going to start lightly packing it into the condensing filter. Now make sure that you are not packing this in super tight because of course the engine's oil and air has to get past this and have a good flow. Otherwise, if it does not and it's blocked up, then you're going to start pushing seals out of the engine because it's going to breathe and it needs somewhere to breathe to. At this point you can see me closing up the condensing filter, and you can see that we have our steel wool inside of this filter and everything looks pretty happy. We're going to get it placed back in the catch can, and this is in the flow of the inlet as I mentioned before. You can see that located up in there. It does not need to be super tight. And now we are going to move on to getting some sealing tape on our fittings for the inlet and the out.
We're stopping in the middle of this video to remind you to subscribe down below. Make sure you leave this video a like so that other people can find it. And appreciate you watching. We'll get right back into the content.
At this point you can see me using the provided sealing tape on the in and out ports of the catch can. You could also use a liquid PTFE thread sealant instead if you wanted to, and there are also O-rings provided in the kit that you can put on this. I ended up opting for the sealing tape and the O-rings. You can see me right here tightening up those fittings a little bit with a universal wrench. I wasn't sure if it was metric or standard, so I just ended up grabbing the old adjustable hammer and tightening those guys down. They don't need to be super tight, but you also don't want to get any vacuum leaks, so it's a good idea to make sure that they're sealed up well. We're going to throw the catch reservoir back on this can, and it is pretty much fully assembled for us to start on our lines. Alright, so at this point we are going to remove the stock PCV line. This is the line that goes from the passenger side valve cover to the intake. It's a pretty easy line to remove, and so we're going to snap off the valve cover first, and then we'll come over here to the intake side. You can see that there's some blue clips inside this, and if you just take your finger and move the clip over, that's how it gets past its ledge and you can pull up on the hose and remove it from the engine. So now that we have the stock line removed, we are going to reuse the fittings from that line, and the easiest way to reuse these is to grab a heat gun and to start heating up the hard plastic that is connecting the two fittings together. In regards to heating up the stock line, you're not trying to melt the plastic here, you're just trying to make it soft enough that it's pliable, that you can get the factory hose barb fittings off. And so you can see I'm just kind of taking my time rotating that piece around, and then once I start to feel like I can see a little bit of a sheen change on the outside of it, you can just give it a pull. If you just want to wait about 30 seconds and give it a pull, and then if it doesn't come out, heat it up a little bit more. But you can see we got both the fittings off. One of them is a 90 degree and one of them is a 45. The 90 goes on the intake and the 45 goes on the valve cover. At this point, I'm looking around the engine bay trying to find a good spot to mount the can. I will admit that this engine bay is a little bit harder to find a good spot. I was trying to mount it on the side of the battery tray, and I just couldn't find a good spot that was going to be good for producing easy lines to run from the valve cover to the can, because it was a really short run. And so I kind of ended up with an idea where I could just use this free space next to the battery, and that the AN lines being as stiff as they are, since they're plastic lined, that would probably hold it in place. And then when I need to empty it, I can remove the AN lines and just pull the can out of there, open it up, empty it, and then reinstall it. Now that we have a general idea of how long our lines need to be, you can see some footage of me cutting my first line. So I'm using those shears. I have my blue electrical tape on there just so we don't get any crazy fraying of the stainless braided portion of this line. This is my small little section to talk about overall safety when you are working with AN lines. The small stainless braided strands that are on the outside of these lines, and when you cut them, are extremely sharp. So at the very minimum, wear a nice pair of cut resistant gloves, or throw on a pair of leather gloves when you're dealing with the frayed edges. Right now, I just want to show you that I have completed the first line. This is actually the return from the can to the intake. You can see that I have the factory fitting pressed onto the PTFE AN line. I did the same method as removing the factory fitting. I heated it up with the heat gun and pushed it on there and threw a hose clamp on it. So it turned out pretty good. I will say, if you wanted to upsize this to 12 AN PTFE, you could do that. It would definitely be a little bit easier to push these fittings on, but you also are trading off getting a nice tight seal. So now we're going to make the line from the valve cover to the inlet. So I went back to the engine bay. I got a general length estimate by mocking it up. I got my factory valve cover end on already with the exact same method as before. Heat it up and push it on, throw a hose clamp on it, and you can see when you do that, they are nice and tight. We got our blue electrical tape where we're going to make our cut, and this is how long our line from the valve cover to the can inlet is going to be.
Alrighty guys, here we are with the catch can all in place. So we have our last hose right here. You can see we got the catch can kind of down in its area down here. And I will say, the way that I got this actually set up, this thing is pretty secure. Like, it's not going anywhere. So that's kind of cool because we don't have it hard mounted to anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this final line thrown on here. There we are. Get this guy tightened down. Alrighty guys, so let's get this catch can thrown in here. So you can see I have it completely out. So what we're going to do is we're going to route this guy underneath the battery cable, the positive battery cable on here. I'm going to bring these lines up a little bit. Start fishing our can into here. And the cool thing is these guys swivel on the can. So here is our first one. You can hear it snap on there. And over here, my arms aren't that long. Here is our second one. Snaps on just like it was factory. And the cool thing is, even though we didn't make a mount over here in this corner, this thing is real nice and secure. So it's not going anywhere. It can't tip over. The PTFE lines are kind of hard and stiff. So this thing is not going anywhere. I'm really happy with it. Let's get the truck started up and pull it outside and make sure we got no issues with any vacuum. You can see right here we got our catch can tucked behind the battery. We have our inlet and we have our outlet back to the intake manifold all hooked up. Everything's looking good. Here's the catch can all said and done, all finished up. So you can see we got our factory ends on there, our 45 and our 90. This is our inlet going into the can. This is the outlet going back into the intake. So everything turned out really good. I'm really impressed with it. And if you guys like this video, I got about a foot here and 2 feet here. The line was $37, so that's $3.70 a foot. That is like $26 right there for this entire setup. So if you're impressed with this or you're going to build this setup, make sure you leave a like down below and consider subscribing for more F-150 content in the future.